Afternoon tea has become a beloved British tradition, with hotels, tea rooms and restaurants across the country offering delicious handmade sandwiches, scones and cakes accompanied with fizzing champagne and free, flowing tea. But while many of us may frequently partake in the quintessential English custom, not many will be privy of all the rules and protocols you must follow if you were to dine in the company of a member of the royal family. However, Grant Harold, who worked as King Charles' butler from 2004 to 2011 when he was the Prince of Wales, has revealed the etiquette rules that should be adopted. The former butler, who also looked after Prince William and Kate during his time at Highgrove in Gloucestershire, takes us through step by step just how to act like a royal for the day and what habits you definitely want to avoid. Though the popular daytime treat is believed to date back centuries, it is actually a relatively new tradition. It was not until the mid-19th century that the concept of afternoon tea first emerged. In the year 1840, Anna, the 7th Duchess of Bedford, was growing wary of having to wait such a long time between lunch and dinner as her evening meal was typically served at 8 p.m. As a result, she asked that a tray of tea, bread and butter and cake be brought to her room during the late afternoon. This soon became part of her routine and she started popularizing it by inviting friends and family to join her. The custom was then rapidly adopted by the upper class and society women, who delighted in enjoying afternoon tea in the drawing room between 4 and 5 o'clock. The addition of champagne wasn't added until much later, Mr. Harold said, and was used as a marketing technique from hotels and restaurants to attract guests. When arriving for afternoon tea, you should politely knock on the door and wait to be asked to enter the room. Once you've been invited in, you should gently open the door while holding your left hand on the door handle. To avoid being rude, you should then quickly spin around to the other side of the door and place your right hand on the door handle on the other side. This then allows you to slowly close the door without allowing it to slam. This entrance should be seamless and limits any disruption, while also minimizing time spent with your back directed towards guests. But Mr. Harold said the days of ensuring your back is never turned towards the royal are over, due to health and safety. However, he said if you want to reduce your chances of having your back turned, the best way is to sidestep away from them. Greeting a gentleman is always done by a nod of the head, Mr. Harold said. But to greet a lady, it is custom to courtesy. However, this is a lot simpler than it might seem. There is no specific leg that must be led on. It is a matter of personal preference. The former butler said the Princess of Wales often switches up between the left and right foot. Explaining how to do it, Mr. Harold said, whatever leg is the strongest or the most comfortable. For example, I will do my right behind the left, a little bob and then back up. It's as simple as that. He also said that old etiquette rules of not being able to look at a royal have gone out the window, and this is now permitted. Mr. Harold said there is a science to the handshake as he detailed exactly how to take hands with a royal. When extending your right hand, the royal family member will meet it by joining palms. He said it is essential not to grip too tightly or too limply as the latter makes it appear that you're uninterested. You have to get a middle ground, he said. He said the late Queen Elizabeth II had a very specific way of shaking hands. She would take the person's hand and effectively clasp the fingers in her palm. The former butler added that she also had a unique style when holding an audience with someone. She would take the hand in her way and then give you a push, a very gentle push back, and it meant your time was up. If you look at footage of her, you will see her do that. You would only kiss someone in greeting if you know the person, he said. But the correct way of doing so is the lady will lean forward, prompting the gentleman to do so as well. You would then go cheek to cheek and kiss on the side. If the lady allows it, then you would also kiss on the other cheek. He said the right cheek must be kissed first, followed by the left. Air kisses or kisses by the ear are unacceptable. Mr. Harold noted that in Britain one kiss was tradition, but it has now become two. But he said when it comes to a royal, you will not need to worry about kissing them unless you know them. Stick to the bow and the curtsy and the handshake. Mr. Harold said that the correct etiquette is to tell someone if they have a wardrobe malfunction or if they have something, such as lipstick, on their face. It is really important to tell them, he said, and remembered how he once worked an event where a woman returned from the toilet with loo paper trailing from her dress. He said he politely informed her to avoid embarrassment. When you approach the chair, do not look at it and then sit down. Your calves should touch the chair, back straight, hands to the side, sit down and hands on the lap. This is repeated when you stand up and walk away. He said that clutch bags should be placed on the chair behind you as it is seen as a good thing to keep good posture. Alternatively, it can be placed under the chair but never beside you, as this could cause a mishap for butlers. When you sit down, you will place your napkin on your lap. Mr. Harold noted that it is permitted to tuck a napkin into your dress or shirt to protect what you are wearing. It is not a faux pas but an accepted practice to ensure no food is splashed onto your outfit. He said Winston Churchill famously did this. But for an afternoon tea, you should fold the napkin in half. Gentlemen are meant to have the crease towards you and the opening away from you. This is the opposite for women, where the opening is at the top. This is to allow the ladies to dab from the corners and conceal any mess. If you are temporarily leaving the table, the napkin must be placed on the chair to signify to the waiters that you are returning. If you do not intend to come back, it is instead placed on the table. However, Mr. Harold said that while it is acceptable to leave a table during dinner or lunch, this is not permitted during afternoon tea. When meeting someone for the first time, the opening comment should be, "How do you do?" Mr. Harold said that the Queen famously tweaked this to, "How nice to see you." This phrase has now been adopted by all members of the royal family. If you have seen them before, this is adapted to, "How nice to see you again." During the meal, the host should lead the conversation, but it is best to steer away from tricky topics. Dining etiquette is that the host starts by talking to the person on his right, which then prompts the remaining guests to follow suit and engage with the person to their right. Halfway through the meal, the host would switch and talk to the person on their left, causing a chain reaction across the table. Such an approach prevents people from talking across the table and ensure no one is left out of conversation. Putting milk in first signifies someone of a lower social standing, as milk was poured into old clay cups to prevent it from cracking if hot tea is poured first. It was not until bone china was introduced that hot liquids could be poured into a cup without the risk of cracking, and it was the aristocracy who could afford to purchase such items. This has become a tradition, Mr. Harold said, and royals will always pour tea in first, followed by milk. When adding sugar, the ex-butler said there is a specific way to stir the spoon to avoid the deafening chinking of the spoon against the china. The spoon should be gently moved back and forth, and not stirred in a circle. He said the only time you pick the cup and the saucer up together is when you are moving away from the table. Holding the cup with your pinky finger sticking out is also a no-go. If enjoying afternoon tea with champagne, this should be drunk before tucking into the food. The sandwiches are designed to be finger sandwiches, so it is fine to pick these up by hand, Mr. Harold said. Scones should then be eaten next, cut with a knife, followed by the cakes on the top of the stand. These should not be taken by hand. He then discussed the age-old debate of whether jam or cream should be applied to a scone first. However, he said that there is no specific rule on which comes first. Mr. Harold said he has seen members of the royal family do it both ways.